Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. On this episode, we are talking about why finance teams are becoming the linchpin for business-wide collaboration, decision-making, and agile planning, and the technology and tools that are empowering the finance function. My guest is Rishi Grover, co-founder and chief solution architect of Vena Solutions. Vena is the sponsor of this episode, and Rishi and I discuss both the Microsoft technology that's driving the future of the finance function and how Vena is working with Microsoft, both from a technology and partnership perspective. Rishi tells us about some of the Microsoft technology advances that have been most impactful to finance teams and how Vena has approached the design of their platform for financial planning and analysis to take advantage of a range of those products and services from Azure to Dynamics 365 to Microsoft 365. We also discuss what's next in Vena's roadmap, advances Rishi is watching in Microsoft's AI roadmap, and advances in FP&A technology that are changing the thinking about the role of finance. Okay, hi Rishi, welcome to the podcast. Could we start with a bit of an introduction of you and your work at Vena?
Sure, Jason. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Rishi Grover, one of the co-founders at Vena Solutions, and our chief solutions architect. For Vena Solutions, we were founded in 2011, so going on almost 13 years now. And we are a software company that helps companies automate their corporate planning process. So it's a fairly mature industry that we're in. There's a lot of terms out there for it, like CPM, which stands for Corporate Performance Management. There's also EPM, BPM for enterprise and business, a lot of ways of articulating it. But effectively, it is cloud technology that helps companies automate their financial planning processes, their operational or business planning processes, and all things reporting and analytics, and also helping facilitate the month-end close process. So we have, a strong platform that helps companies automate all sorts of different processes. And in particular, something that's very unique with our approach to market is we leverage Microsoft technology, including Office 365, including a lot of the amazing stuff that Microsoft is doing with Azure and machine learning and Power BI. So really happy to join today's conversation and get into those details.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. And I really do want to start with what you just mentioned, which is how you see Microsoft's strengths in terms of innovation when it comes to finance. I'm thinking of some of those tools you just mentioned, Microsoft 365 and Excel, Power BI, even Dynamics 365 Finance, some of the newest things like Copilot. Can you give sort of your broad view on where you see Microsoft's strengths there?
Yeah, absolutely. And, as I mentioned, when we started the company back in 2011, we've always been huge fans of Microsoft and what Microsoft is doing for businesses as a whole and in particular for, the Office of Finance. And, if we think back to kind of Office and Excel back in 2011 to where it is today, there's been amazing leaps that Microsoft has done. In particular, over the past 3 years or maybe a little bit more is where we've seen, Microsoft just, for lack of better words, like leapfrog a lot of the competition. And it's just been amazing to see what they've done over the past few years. And that's across kind of their whole platform, really. So, if you look at, kind of maybe start bottom up here, when we look at Dynamics 365 Finance, which is their core ERP and GL system, and the way I look at the GL, the ERP system, that really is kind of the DNA of a company. It's where, they structure their business. They have their master chart of accounts, all of their operational processes kind of defined out and what have you. So 365 Dynamics has just done a phenomenal job at doing that to really, I would say ultimately simplify, financial management to help close the books faster. As I mentioned, kind of automate all of those internal business processes, like automatically processing vendor invoices, accounts receivables and payables and things like that, helping manage credit risks. But ultimately what all this is doing is creating for the company their single source of truth for the business. And now in today's day of, cloud maturity, with Azure being one of the leaders of cloud technology, is putting all of that together in a very modern way. Where, back in 2011, when we looked at kind of their ERP system, it was more Great Plains. It was on-premise technology installed within the four firewalls of an organization. Now we're fully on the cloud, leveraging Azure, leveraging amazing technology to also create a great user experience, embed a lot of that robust functionality and really integrating, Dynamics 365 Finance into the whole Microsoft ecosystem on Azure, on the cloud as well, including a lot of the amazing things they're doing with machine learning and things like that as well. So you have this great foundation with Dynamics 365 Finance as that ERP GL system. And now kind of looking on top of that, for Office 365, back in 2011, there was no such thing as 365. So now we're, again, kind of in a modern way of using Office, subscription licensing, supporting, online Office as well. So a lot of amazing things around Office. If I were to speak, a bit more specifically to Excel, I've always been a big believer of Excel. I love Excel. I love the sheer flexibility and power of this spreadsheet environment. And the way I look at, kind of the power of Excel as it relates to the Office of Finance is it really does put together kind of the art and science, if you will, because the way that companies use Excel in context of what we're talking about here is all things forecasting. When you look at an ERP system like Dynamics Finance, that again, it's the DNA of the company. It's a single version of the truth of all of the actual data and the actual kind of operational processes. But when you start to forecast your company into the next year and the year after, that's where Excel has its strength, because you can model anything in Excel. And the science part is, all of the amazing formulas and functions and things like that Excel has. But also there's what I would say arguably more important is the art of it as well. That cognitive comfort, that creative freedom in Excel to be able to model out your forecast the way that you think. And, instead of learning new languages, you're in a very familiar environment. And when I now take that art and science and I look at the power of Excel today, amazing stuff like Power Query embedded within Excel, Excel arrays, data types, analyze data. They have a new Lambda function, which is phenomenal. So a lot of amazing things that they're doing, that Microsoft is doing with Office 365, with Excel, that directly impacts the Office of Finance, allowing them to do even more sophisticated forecast modeling within that environment. And now when we look at the next evolution within Excel, within Office 365 is all things generative AI with Copilot, exactly as you mentioned, Jason. So Copilot, now I believe is about to be fully GA released November 1st in Office. So across your Office apps, across Teams and what have you. So now when you're in, for example, an Excel model and you have, some data that's in your spreadsheet, now just being able to, just ask questions about that information to get insights, to automatically generate certain graphs and charts to really highlight some information or to extract some insights of that data. What Microsoft has done with Copilot is simply phenomenal. Great user experience, great output for all things productivity and analysis. And another thing I'm very excited about, and I know I'm talking quite a bit on here, Jason, but I'm very passionate about this, especially with Excel, because now Microsoft is releasing Python directly embedded within Excel as well. So now we're really looking at the next level of data analytics and predictive modeling and things like that. Python probably is the de facto language for all things that we're talking about here for machine learning and what have you. So being able to do that within an Excel model is quite amazing. And the way that Microsoft has done that is you can literally, put in a Python algorithm within a cell in Excel that references any other cells or intersection points or data sets to, for example, produce a forecast. And when you execute that, what's quite amazing is within Excel, it creates this temporary Azure environment to run that algorithm with all the data server side within their cloud environment. So it doesn't bog down your client PC, executes that, then terminates that Azure temporary instance, and then provides all the results directly within your Excel model. So it's quite amazing that on how they're doing that. And now if I go to the next step here, all things kind of AI-powered self-service analytics, particularly with Power BI, which, arguably I would say it's the best in class in market for all things BI and AI. Amazing AI-powered visuals like key influencers, where amongst your data sets, if you're looking at all of your expenses or your revenue forecast or things like that, for the system to tell you, here are the key drivers that impact your expenses that would cause an increase or would cause a decrease. And it just goes through all of your information that you provide to it. It finds correlations, finds anomalies and things like that to produce these outputs. Very sophisticated anomaly detection, great predictive forecasting, even things like smart narratives. It just looks at all of your data and it provides you with sentences or paragraphs of describing that information. And also going back now to Copilot is now they're introducing Copilot in Power BI. I actually watched one of the kind of teaser commercials on this, and it is quite amazing. What I expected to see before I watched that teaser was within an existing Power BI dashboard for me to just ask questions and it generates insights and provides me with that information. But the way that they presented how Copilot is going to work in Power BI is you start with a blank Power BI dashboard and you type out in a paragraph exactly what you're trying to do, the data you want to analyze, the insights you want to get out of it. And then that creates an entire Power BI dashboard, all the charts, all the graphs, everything linked together in a beautiful format. And then it pops up that conversational AI where now you can start to ask questions about that report that it first generated. So pretty amazing. And all of this is directly going to have impacts across the organization. I would say especially the Office of Finance in a variety of different. So long answer there, Jason, but I think, Microsoft is doing so much in terms of their tech innovation. And I probably just kind of hit the surface on a lot of these areas.
Yeah, you really kind of summed up so many areas where there's a lot to dive into, including a couple I have to admit I'm sort of learning about still. So that's great. Well, let's connect it back to Vena. When you talk to your customers, how do you explain how Vena is actually working with Microsoft on some of the financial technology initiatives that you think will add value for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I kind of go back again to when Vena was founded, and our core philosophy was don't replace Excel. When we look at this very mature market that we're in for all things FP&A technology, most vendors out there have an approach of fundamentally replacing Excel because companies, before they look for a solution, manage their whole planning process, so reporting and analytics in complete manual Excel. And when companies grow to a certain point or have a certain level of complexity or volume of data, is where they start to feel a bit of that pain of an Excel-only manual process. So then they go to market looking for a solution. And as I mentioned, most vendors fundamentally replace Excel. But what I saw time and time again in the market, Jason, with that approach is most companies start to revert back to Excel because of Excel's flexibility, powerful modeling, the usability of it, the high user adoption, and what have you. So our approach from day one was we want to take the best of Excel, kind of abstract Excel and really leverage it for its modeling capabilities, its rich feature library and what have you, but tie that into a full enterprise application that has a database, that has workflow capabilities, collaboration, analytics, and what have you. So from day one, our approach was we want to leverage the best of breed spreadsheet technology, which is Excel, but integrate that and productize that specifically for financial planning and analysis. And the way that we've integrated with Excel, it allows us to embrace all of the new innovations that Microsoft is doing, particularly with Office 365 and Excel. So the way I would look at this, Jason, to that question is we are almost the enabler or the facilitator for companies to realize and leverage the amazing things that Excel has to offer because we are productizing all of that within our application. So, again, those new innovations like Excel arrays, their data types, Lambda, analyze data, and very soon coming, the future with Copilot and Python is we are leveraging all of that within our platform. So we're putting it face front to all of our customers. So right away they can see it as opposed to learning it on their own and learning how to integrate and configure it to the planning process. We do all of that heavy lifting. And now we're now doing the exact same thing as we did with Excel, taking the best of breed spreadsheet technology. Now we're doing the same with Power BI. And let's take the best of breed BI AI technology and let's integrate that into our application and productize it for FP&A. Because especially Power BI is still relatively new to a lot of customers, to a lot of users. It is such a feature-rich application. There's so much you can do in Power BI. It almost becomes a little overwhelming at certain times. So that, again, is our approach of, hey, let's put this in the Vena product. Let's integrate all of this amazing Microsoft AI technology in the ecosystem, and we will productize it for FP&A or financial planning and analysis use cases. So then right away, all of our customers are able to see all the amazing things you can do, not just in Excel, but also now in Power BI. And that also creates, that curiosity that, wow, I didn't know that Power BI could do things like this. What else can it do? So that's part of our role and our technology and our approach of embracing the best of Microsoft and bringing that to market.
Can you talk a little more about how FP&A technology changes an organization's perspective on the role of finance and perhaps the duties or the responsibilities as others in the organization see it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, myself, I've always believed that the Office of Finance is arguably the center of any organization. When you look at, being able to facilitate the planning process, generate insights and what have you, and work with different business units, all things always come back to the Office of Finance. And the Office of Finance, the individuals, the finance professionals, I've got to work with, of course, a lot of them across all of our customer base. And these are just brilliant people. Very smart people that are very creative and at the same time very data oriented. So they have this unique blend of understanding the business, understanding all of the data, understanding the market, the competitive market that they're in as well, and also very creative on how they look at data, how they analyze data, how they tell stories about the data and communicate that internally as well as externally. Now, historically, the Office of Finance was always considered, I'd say in quotes here, the back office, that their role is to generate reports, financial statements. They just facilitate the administration of the budgeting process. And then they provide, various reports of telling all the business units, hey, this is what you planned for, but this is what actually is happening. Here are the variances and providing them with that insights. Basically, they provide whatever the business units need, like the marketing department or sales department, to run their part of the organization. But now, with FP&A technology, most of what I just described there, most of that can be automated and can be streamlined. And the benefit there now is that allows, these very smart finance professionals to spend more time now on data analysis, providing them more time to mitigating potential risk in the organization and generating insights for opportunity. So FP&A technology, especially modern FP&A technology, now leveraging a lot more BI and AI capabilities, is moving from more reactive of, hey, provide me this information, to much more proactive, where they are proactively generating insights for the benefit of all business units and the company as a whole. So really, it's an FP&A tech that also does empower the business units. So FP&A tech can empower business units to have their own self-serve reporting. So now they can go into the system, they can ask questions, whether that be looking at ad hoc self-serve reports, or now, generative AI as well, which I think is going to hugely benefit all the business units for them to self-serve and do their own what-if analysis. An example there would be if I look at a marketing department, if I, over-invest in Google search spend or what have you, what is my return on that going to be? And providing those business units kind of this playground environment where they can self-serve and do their own analysis, as opposed to being 100% dependent on the finance team to be able to do that with them. And I'm also, as I mentioned, that generative AI, I'm very excited about the future of exactly what we're talking about here, Jason, and how generative AI is going to really help with the productivity of these business units. In particular, Copilot. When they're in their Excel models or reports, or they're within a certain Office or Microsoft application, Power BI or what have you, for them to be able to ask questions as they would naturally ask a finance professional, but have the system now give them results and allow them to ask follow-up questions and things like that. But ultimately, all of this is only possible if it's for the Office of Finance, for them to make sure the data is right, the quality of the data is there, the FP&A technology has been set up correctly. So they're the foundation that now enables the empowerment of business units in the organization. So to kind of sum this up in terms of the impact of FP&A tech and kind of the view of the role of the finance, is FP&A tech, allows for all of the above that I talked about and really helps finance move from, again, I'm saying this in quotes, but a perceived back office role to now a strategic partner in the whole business.
To me, the flip side of the same point that you were making is that it probably frees up the finance team to do things that they didn't have the time to do before, things that they perhaps even knew were valuable, but their time was being eaten up with report building or other tasks that simply just slowed down their work.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
When it comes to, you already talked about Microsoft products, so many of them that you're obviously very excited about, and that certainly makes sense. Can you talk a little more about when it comes to the investment in the Microsoft suite, how you talk about Vena's platform helping customers get more out of all of those Microsoft tools?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned before that, although Microsoft is doing amazing innovation, lots of new features and functions and things like that, and also, embedding cutting edge technology like machine learning and generative AI and what have you into their products and across all their products. Although this is very exciting, a lot of it can be very intimidating. And the way that companies like Microsoft, that they design these products and feature sets is they're very horizontal in nature. And that is by design because, it's one product that can help with almost any industry, any kind of use case. And that's the way that they build their technology. And, when we look at Vena's approach here and how we integrate with the Microsoft technology is we are harnessing all their technology, but we are fine tuning it for financial planning use cases and also the month end close use cases and things like that. And what we do is we provide out of the box solutions, which we call pre-configured solutions. And a pre-configured solution is a Vena data model for a certain use case. So for example, for workforce planning or for CapEx planning or things like that, is we provide a pre-configured Vena data model. We provide pre-configured input templates, pre-configured reports, which are built in Excel. And also we provide pre-configured Vena Insight dashboards. We call them Vena Insight dashboards, but they're effectively Power BI that's embedded within our application. So we provide productized out-of-the-box solutions. So again, as I mentioned, is we take all the amazing things that Excel can do, all the amazing things that Power BI can do, and we do all of the data modeling for them, all the setup of things like formulas and leveraging some of these features and functions, and provide that as an out-of-the-box solution that then our customers can take, and then they can fine-tune it specifically for their requirements. So that is, fundamentally the way that we can not make all this technology seem intimidating because we're embedding the best practices. We're leveraging the best of their technology specifically for financial planning. And then inherently what we're doing there is we're exposing all of this great innovation in a way that our customer base understands because it's specifically addressing their pain points, their use cases. And that, I believe, again, generates a lot of curiosity. Like, how are we able to do this? And how does this certain function work? That's very interesting. What else is this function able to do? So that in essence is how we're helping kind of bridge that gap with our platform. The other thing that we also do is directly on the Vena website is we have a public Excel template library. So we have all of these Excel templates that are designed with best practices of Excel formulas and all this new functionality that I mentioned by industry, by use case, and anyone can go ahead, take a look at, they can download, and they can see exactly how we can leverage this new innovation with a very practical use case.
Can you talk a little more about Vena's product roadmap and in particular how it does relate to your engagement, your partnership with Microsoft?
Yeah, Microsoft has been great. We've had the privilege of working with some of their product development teams, especially around Office 365, around Azure, around Power BI, working with their development teams there. And over the past few years, we've done a foundational integration with Microsoft's AI ecosystem into the core of Vena's platform. So this is an effort that we've done for a few years now that didn't have any kind of output in terms of features for our customer base at that time because we wanted to make sure that integration was very tight. Just like we did with Excel and making that very tight in our application, we did the same thing, but holistically for Microsoft's AI ecosystem. And now that that's been complete for about 1-2 years now we have been releasing solutions that is built on Microsoft's innovative technology. So I'll give a few examples there. The first is, as I mentioned, a solution offering that we have in a product called Vena Insights. But that is effectively Power BI completely embedded within our application that is already tied to Vena's central analytical data model, is tied into our user security and data security and things like that. And we have out of the box Power BI dashboards again, that are productized and built for FP&A. So for things like revenue analysis, expense analysis, predictive forecasting, anomaly detection, and things like that. So all that heavy lifting is all productized in the Vena application. Something we're working on right now with Microsoft as well is Microsoft, of course, has, a great partnership with OpenAI, and they have something called Azure OpenAI. So the way that I look at that is think of ChatGPT the way that people are leveraging right now, but ChatGPT for enterprise. So now this is connected within your private cloud environment with your data. We're not exposing your data to the public internet to leverage this technology, but ChatGPT for enterprise. So we're now working with Microsoft to build Vena's conversational AI directly in the Vena product, but leveraging Azure OpenAI technology. So that's something that is really exciting. So anywhere in the Vena product, you can, again, start to just ask questions. And then it leverages this OpenAI technology against your data set within Vena's private environment and then generates insights. So these are all the ways that we're working with Microsoft. Another example is within our product, all of our data APIs are open. So now we can programmatically connect to any Microsoft technology like Power Automate or Azure Machine Learning Studio to generate predictive forecasts and things like that. So Microsoft has been great, and it's been an awesome journey of really seeing, the underlying power of this technology, and also how Microsoft has built this in ways where vendors like Vena can take full advantage of it and really make it part of our product and productize it for our customers for specific use cases.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And one of the things that just makes me think of is actually on a recent podcast conversation I had, another episode, was just related to with Microsoft sort of putting out or bringing the OpenAI service to Azure, like you said, and its Copilot tools. Mm-hmm. It's in a way leading on technology in this space more than it has in other spaces where even it's been very successful. It hasn't necessarily been sort of the first to market with something so interesting. With Copilot, and it's a partnership with OpenAI, as you said, they are more in that position. And I just think that, one of the questions that always comes up is how well are they going to perform? I think to your point, these partnerships like partnering the way Vena does with Microsoft and some of those sort of subject matter experts out in the world with different perspectives are going to be a major part of making sort of Microsoft's AI play really successful, is that putting it to use using this kind of expertise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and their partner ecosystem is so strong, and they enable partners to be successful by integrating their technology. So I think their strategy and approach is very effective as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get that sort of mutual benefit is probably something that your shared clients are probably looking at too, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in so many different ways as well across their tech stack of, all the way starting from integration with Dynamics 365 Finance, which is, again, it's the DNA of the company. It's a single version of the truth of all of their actual data. So us being able to integrate with that source system to bring in those actuals to then help facilitate the planning process. And back to your point as well, Jason, of the Office of Finance, having more time to review data, to do data analysis and what have you, and streamline and automate kind of that tactical part of the planning process is, again, a huge mutual benefit that we're sharing with our customers by leveraging both Vena tech as well as Microsoft tech. And really that comes down to, I would say all things productivity. If we can be more productive and save time, if we can enable business units to be more self-serve through generative AI and things like that, all of this is productivity that ultimately helps companies make the best possible business decisions. And that's what, the industry that Vena is in, that's what we're trying to help all of our customers do, is help them make better business decisions through the planning process, strategic planning process, and great reporting and dashboarding and analytics and things like that. So when we combine Vena's tech stack with Microsoft's innovation, we're helping drive that great company-wide planning and analysis process. And we of course continue and always will embrace and integrate all of the best of Microsoft. So when I look at Excel, Excel has great collaboration capabilities. So at Vena, we connect Excel models into Vena's analytical database. So the database has all the heavy lifting of data storage, aggregation, and slicing and dicing and what have you. But Excel is the canvas that models a company's business and their forecasts. And also we combine Vena's workflow capabilities with Microsoft's, for example, their Office co-authoring capabilities. So now when you're in a template in Vena, which is connected to Excel, you can also use co-authoring. So now you can have multiple people across your business that are inputting data at the same time. They're collaborating in real time. So that's just making the productivity of the input that much better, as opposed to emailing files back and forth and what have you. Is we're embracing this amazing new functionality. And also we have full PowerPoint integration as well. So any of the analytics, the financial statements or dashboards that are being built in Vena, all of that can now be integrated in PowerPoint decks, like to create that repeatable board presentation where with one click now, all your data, charts, and tables can refresh automatically. And then at the same time, when we look at all this AI innovation, again, we're going to continue to harness it. We're going to continue to fine tune it and productize it for FP&A. It's amazing to see, as you mentioned, where the AI is today, and the rate of development and innovation is like no other time. So where we're going to be in 1 year or 2 years and what Microsoft is going to continue to do, I can't wait to see. And we're always going to be on top of that, working very closely with Microsoft in a very strategic way to make sure all of the amazing innovation is part of the Vena product as well, to help our mutual customers realize the benefit. So ultimately, if we can automate and streamline that very tactical planning process, make it a lot more productive, that again allows more time for now strategic analysis, strategic planning, and then ultimately leverage all this great AI technology to ultimately drive amazing insights. And then that generative AI through that open AI technology to empower business units to run their business. And again, ultimately make the best business decisions. And really also, I think, all of this has to be done with a great and arguably a fun user experience, because we don't want this technology to feel overwhelming. We don't want it to feel complex or technical. We want to remove the technicality and bring an amazing user interface that leverages all of this great innovation from Microsoft and Vena, specifically for financial planning and analysis and to facilitate the month-end close process. So a lot of amazing stuff that's happening, and we absolutely love working with Microsoft to provide all of this value to our mutual customers.
All right, excellent. Well, I really appreciate you. I feel like you sort of taking me on a journey here of all these different areas of the Microsoft portfolio and how you see it fitting in with Vena's platform as well. I really appreciate you taking the time today. It's been great getting to learn a little bit more about you and about what Vena is doing. So thanks for your time, Rishi.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. My pleasure.
This has been another episode of the MSTW podcast. My thanks once again to Rishi for joining. And this message from Vena. If you'd like to speak with a Vena expert or schedule a demo, contact them at www.venasolutions.com/request-demo. And that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me by email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on social media. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.